browse it. Robust. Okay. Cyclones. BC Cyclone, dude. Uh-oh. What do we do? Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. I've gotten this question too many times. I'm tired of answering it, so I'm gonna make a fucking video. Welcome. We're gonna talk about how to face BCs into Cyclones and Hellions, which is affectionately known as Battle Mech. So, battle cruisers got buffed a good bit in the recent patches. Talk through the opening build, also talk through how to identify what the opponent is doing and how to maneuver your units and tech up in such a way that you can get some advantages, take some map control, and hopefully win. So my opening build order is 13 Overlord, and then I go 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. Amazing. 18 gas, wow. 17 pool, nice. These next larvae are rallied into this extractor. The second Overlord is browsing this location for Marines, SCVs, and bunkers. Basically, Francisco's job is to identify funny business. That's why he's called Francisco the Funny Business Overlord. Oscar the Bold, he flies across the map just to confirm that there is a base there. Whenever my pool is done, I'm making 2 queens and 4 lings. I took my Overlord at 20 supply, by the way. Ling speed's going, and I pulled 2 workers off of gas. I could just take my vision. I'm trying to move the Overlords around so I can see which pathways the Reaper comes in. You can watch the minimap and see that. Whenever the Reap shows up, I want to micro my worker through the mineral line away from the Reaper. And if the drone gets low, you make a spore. The reason you make spores instead of spines is because they're 25 minerals cheaper. Did you know that? Now you know. 30 Overlord at 2 minutes 32. Then I want to get 2 more queens as fast as I can. There are a bunch of builds in the current meta where you sneak out a drone and try to take a base at 26 supply or 28 supply and stuff like that. I prefer the consistency of just making 2 additional queens. So this queen is zone defense, the links are behind. I'm gonna lay some creep tumors here, one in the main, one in the natural. And the queens who spread creep are on their own control group. I'm just droning away right now. My 36 Overlord was a bit late, so I'm slightly supply blocked at the moment, but it's not a big deal because I can take a 3rd base at 3 minutes 30. This is a time when it's really nice to take a 3rd because your ling speed kicks in and you can push the Reaper off of it. More queens are coming out. This is around the time when you want to drop a Roach Warren, take a gas, and then go for an Overlord sack in the main. There's a Roach Warren. Production tab is drones and Overlord. I'm not in a huge rush to go over there and defend that. Trying to block with my lings. The lings should be in the natural blocking. You can make 8 to 10 lings to prevent this from happening. The response to this is pretty good. How many loot workers did I lose here? Okay. Lost 4, which is not that bad for killing 4 Hellions and a Reaper. Drones can fight too, remember that. So I'm refilling this gas. And you might be wondering, why are you having 2 gases and not 3 or not 4 gases? Well, I have a 3rd base at a pretty reasonable time here, and I need to make drones, which cost only minerals. I need to make queens, which cost only minerals, spores, which cost only minerals, and what? Extractors cost minerals, hatches cost minerals, Overlords cost minerals. So most of what I'm trying to purchase right now is mineral only. I can make roaches from this. I can get roach speed, but those are not super expensive for gas. This is a mineral focus opening. My Overlord's gonna go in and scout. You can scout at like 3:45 to 4 minutes. It doesn't need to be perfect. This Overlord is MVP right now because I saw the Liberator coming in. I can see this Hellion's driving up too. I pulled the drones away. It's better to lose mining time than to lose the drones. Oops. And we see Starport Tech Lab. Barracks Tech Lab. So this could be battlecruisers. Not sure. But I want to get 1 spore per base at a minimum. My lair is complete. I'm going to take roach speed right away. This is really important. Roach speed right away when your lair is complete means that you have the potential to attack your opponent whenever the Hellions and the BCs trade themselves out. If you don't have roach speed, you're pretty much just sitting on your own bases and you can't really do too much about what the opponent is up to. But with roach speed, you can run across and sometimes run back, get some good damage in. I'm just drowning right now. I made how many roaches? 6. 6 safety roaches. You can make anywhere between 5 and 8 safety roaches. This means that if they go for some kind of Hellbat play, you can defend that pretty nicely. Creep spread is moving pretty well so far. I need to be making more overlords. These roaches are just pressuring here. I see battlecruiser, and my response to that is spam queens. Starport Tech Lab, you want to spam queens. If you're against mech, you should have 7 queens. If you're against bio, you should have 7 to 10 queens. If you're against battlecruisers, you should probably just spam queens until the game is over. Because the BC is going to show up, and it's going to kill probably at least 2 of them, which is pretty tough. This is a pretty brutal and violent video game. So you should expect to take some losses and then try to recover from that. I did make 2 spores up here in the main base. My roaches are guarding by the 3rd base. They can't do anything about this battlecruiser. Queens did get a nerf to their anti-air range recently. So a lot of these fights are a little bit harder than they used to be. And then for this roach attack, I'm just looking for whatever is available for me to hit. I'm not going to try to punch in here because this isn't a huge force. How many roaches are here? This is just 10 roaches. My opponent has, what? A tank here, and they're starting their Cyclone production. This is pretty normal for a battle mech transition. You started off with Hellion battlecruiser. Cyclones and tanks allow Terran to more or less defend the 3rd, but we do have a window here, and this window is pretty consistent. And why is that the case? The reason is battlecruisers cost a shit ton of gas. So they can't afford to have tons of BCs and tons of tanks right away. They have to pick and choose. So with the battle mech opening, they choose battlecruiser as the first major gas investment. And then they try to anchor this 3rd base with tanks and whatnot. And then as soon as they stabilize their defense, you fall back. It's better to conserve your units in this case. I'm trying to build up my supply as fast as I can. Took my 4th base, taking gases and a spore. And this time, I'm going for infestors with pathogen glands. This means that I can fungal the Cyclone Hellion. If they drive deep into my territory, I could fungal them and then the army that's on the ground could clean them up. In addition, if I get Burrow and Neural, I could take a BC and have that battlecruiser work for me. BCs are good units. You want them fighting on your side if at all possible. Trying to go for some wraparounds as I can. Mixing in lings into your composition of roaches is super, super, super important. Most times a Cyclone player isn't going to be manually microing to say, okay, this Cyclone, you're going to focus this roach. They're just going to basically drive into range of your units so they get a lock-on, and then they're going to drive away, and the lock-on is going to kill the unit. If you have lings, watch what happens here. The Cyclones oftentimes will lock on to a ling, which is a huge waste of a really high damage ability. So my roachling is coming up here. They lock onto this overlord. So yeah, the overlord actually did it here. But the same thing would have applied. The Cyclones would have been focusing the lings instead of the roaches. Yeah, they do have blue flame Hellions, which are kind of scary. But it's about banking up gas for your better units like infestors by making lings. And also having some stuff that can just absorb that lock-on. We're pushing here again. And what are we making behind this? I have 67 drones, 16 lings, 2 ravagers, 25 roaches, 6 queens, and in the production tab, I've got more lings, melee attack, and range 2. The reason that I didn't go for a super fast hive is because I don't really have enough money to go for infestors, hydras, ravagers, roaches, pathogen glands, hydra upgrades, and vipers. You do have to kind of narrow down your composition and focus on what you want to have moving up to 200 supply. And you also want to make sure that it's not too mechanically difficult to micro all the units. This is pretty simple and easy. Ling Roach Ravager, one control group, goes up, shoots stuff, bites stuff. That's about how it works. And then you add in the infestors, and that's when you can get a little bit fancy, get a little bit technical, maybe do some fungal or do some neural parasite. So we're taking a trade here. And then you want to try to remember to go back home and inject your bases through this. I do have one macro hatch. Makes it easier to mix lings into this composition. 38 lings are being made. Queens are trying to inject the bases. Ravagers can just corrosive bile whatever. Not really a big deal. Neural is going now. I see tanks and libs and stuff. Taking a hive, might as well. Hydra Viper is another composition that's an option against this. It can work sometimes. Depends a little bit on how much money you have and how aggressive they're being with their stuff. I think I forgot about this queen here. But now we're pretty ahead. We've been taking these trades, which are kind of messy. But if you're taking messy trades and you have a lot more workers than the opponent, then it's good for you. So I'll show you what the next fight looks like now. I have +2 melee going, +2 range is about done. I'll want to get +3 ranged after that. Neural is about complete. My infestors are coming out. And since infestors are energy units, once you make them, you're not in a huge rush to use them in a fight right away. They're gaining a lot of value just by sitting there. So for me to be running around with this and keeping these just in reserve is a pretty nice move. So I think the secret fourth cost me the game. No, we're winning. There is a fourth base here. It looks like it's an orbital. This is the new skin from the war chest. It's really hard to tell the difference between a planetary and an orbital, so good luck. This is an orbital, I guess. It does have the little towers here. You can swivel your camera a little bit to get a better read on what a building is, but this has like a satellite dish, which means they can browse even more internet TV channels or whatever. That's cool. A lot of Terrans will have a planetary fortress there. And a thing to consider whenever you're looking at a location and deciding if it's good to fight is what kind of angle you have attacking into that. This map is pretty nice because a lot of these areas are really open. Like this is a huge area. This is pretty narrow, but this is wide open. Like this is prime time Zerg territory. And our next attack now is going to be roaches, hydras, ravagers, infestors. And I'll give you my vision for this. Ravager, corrosive bile the tanks. Infestors going up, looking for a fungal. They missed. It's okay. You're not going to connect every time. Burrow is done now too. Fifth base is taken behind this. Attack and expand is a really, really important move. If you attack and expand, you have a plan B. So you're not 100% committed to the current fight. You have something else you can fall back on. And oftentimes whenever you're taking fights, time is passing. So you'll oftentimes mine out a base during that, and you need a place to transfer those workers to. If you are ahead in this case, just holding an aggressive position on the map is nice. It's hard for a mech player to move into you and take a fight. Mech is going to have the best engagements if they can get to a location, like say get to here, and then siege everything up, and then you try to attack into them when they've already chosen their location to fight in. So the infestors can go in now, and now this isn't battle mech anymore. This does happen sometimes. They switch from the speedy mech, which is Cyclones, into the tank mech, and infestors are still good against this, so I just knurled this tank and I told it to attack this guy. Another move that you can do is look for the battle cruiser. If it's still in the game, you can knurl that battle cruiser and then Yamato one of these units. We've got a good fight here. Hydras are better than Roach Ravager, so if they're going mass tanks, then going Hydra Viper I think is better than Roach Ravager Infestor, but really a key thing with this is familiarizing yourself with one of these approaches and really trying to hammer that down and get good at that, rather than like mixing and matching every single time and you're always like not really getting great practice with any given unit composition. You're just constantly doing something different. But yeah, the basic idea of this strat against Battle Mech is you're droning and droning and droning with 2 gases in the early game, trying to get up to 70 or so workers. You want your queen count to be, say, 7 to 10 for that initial BC harass. You go double evo and upgrades, roach speed right as soon as the lair is done, because that gives you some counter push potential. And then anytime you go out and push, you should have tech behind this, so upgrades should be working away, and ideally you have another base behind this. So that's a pretty simple approach to dealing with battle mech. It is a fairly annoying composition to face. If they do get ahead, they can just drive up to your army with their cyclones, lock on, and then shave off a whole bunch and then drive away. So some of the time you're going to be struggling against battle mech, not because the approach isn't working out for you, but because you started out the mid game from really far behind. So try to pay attention to the early game stuff too. Don't be supply blocked at 36. Remember to make your 30 overlord at 2 minutes 32. Don't be supply blocked at 44. Make your 36 overlord. Keep your injects going as much as you can. That kind of thing. What would the transition be if they continue to hold on? Or would it be constant remax with Hydra, Roach, and Fester? A nice play to do whenever they expand out and take, say, a 6th base and a 7th base is to Nidus Hydras into their main. It's really awkward for a mech army, like we have the map right up here. For a mech army, if they're by their 3rd and 4th bases in this area where we saw them, and you have Hydras suddenly in the back of their main, for them to go up the ramp and defend that is really annoying for Terran. So if you see them moving out, or if you see them too far forward, that's a really nice way to go for the throat, basically. If you kill the production of Terran, you pretty much win. More so than killing a planetary, unless that's their last bit of resources. There you go. Quick guide on how to fight BC Cyclone, dude. Good luck, have fun.